I always knew my parents favored my brother, but I never thought they'd screw me over this badly. I'm 30M now, but this all started when I was 18 and getting ready for college. I wasn't some straight A genius, but I worked hard, stayed out of trouble, and actually had a plan for my future. Ever since I was a kid, my parents told me they had a college fund set up for me. It wasn't going to cover an Ivy League school, but they reassured me over and over that there was enough money to get me through school without debt. So you can imagine my shock when, a few months before I was supposed to start college, they sat me down at the kitchen table and hit me with, "We need to talk about your tuition." At first, I thought nothing of it. Maybe they wanted to go over logistics, set up payments, whatever. But then my dad cleared his throat and said, "The money isn't there anymore." I just stared at them. "What do you mean it's not there?" My mom sighed like this was some unfortunate accident and not something they chose to do. We had to use it for something else. And by something else, they meant my brother. My older brother, Matt, had never been responsible with money. He blew through his savings constantly, made terrible financial decisions, and had a habit of screwing up his life only for my parents to swoop in and bail him out. Apparently, he had gotten himself into serious debt, and my parents, being the enablers they were, decided the best solution was to drain my college fund to save him. I sat there, stunned. "So, what am I supposed to do?" I finally asked. My mom gave me that fake sympathetic look she always used whenever she wanted to manipulate me. "We know it's not ideal, but you're smart. You'll figure something out." That was it. No apology, no remorse, just, "Sorry, but it is what it is." I asked them how much of the fund was left. Nothing. Every single dollar was gone. At that moment, I realized something. I wasn't their priority. I never had been. I was just the backup kid, the one who was expected to figure things out while they catered to Matt's every screw-up. It didn't matter that I had worked hard, stayed out of trouble, and actually had a future ahead of me. Matt was their golden child, and they had chosen him. I felt like a complete idiot for ever trusting them. I didn't yell, I didn't argue, I just shut down. I told them, "Okay," got up and left the room. They probably thought I was just going to accept it. They had no idea what was coming. I wasn't about to let them ruin my future just because they couldn't say no to Matt. If they weren't going to help me, I was going to figure it out on my own, and I was going to make sure they regretted it. At first, I had no idea what to do. I was completely blindsided. I had spent years counting on that college fund, and now I had nothing. I started looking into student loans, but the thought of being buried in debt just because my parents had terrible priorities made me sick. Then, one of my teachers pulled me aside after class. She knew I had planned on going to college and asked how things were going. I told her the truth. She nodded and said, "You have options. You just need to be willing to take a different path." That conversation changed everything. She told me about a work-study program at a state school that covered tuition in exchange for working on campus. It wasn't my dream school, but it was a way out. I started researching other options. Grants, scholarships, anything that would let me move forward without my parents' help. I applied for every scholarship I could find. I filled out financial aid applications. I looked into part-time jobs that could support me while I took classes. It was a brutal few months, but when the dust settled, I had a plan. I moved out the day after I graduated high school. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't ask for help. I just left. And when my mom called me, all sweet and fake, saying, "We need to talk about your college plans," I told her, "We already did." Then I hung up. College was tough. I worked 2 jobs while taking classes, lived in a tiny apartment with 3 roommates, and barely had time to sleep. But you know what? It was mine. Every dollar I earned, every class I took, I was mine. I stopped going home for holidays. I stopped calling. My parents made no effort to check in on me unless they needed something. And honestly, that was fine by me. I graduated with 0 debt. Meanwhile, Matt was still struggling. He had burned through the money my parents gave him and was begging them for more. And they gave it to him. I couldn't believe it. After everything, they still hadn't learned. That's when I made a decision. I was going to succeed without them. I wasn't just going to do well, I was going to thrive. I started working in sales right out of college. It wasn't glamorous, but I was good at it. Really good. Within a few years, I had moved up the ranks and was making 6 figures. I took that money and started investing. Stocks, real estate, side businesses. I was determined to build something that no one could take away from me. By the time I was 28, I was a millionaire. And my parents? They came crawling back. After I left home, I barely spoke to my parents. I didn't go back for the holidays. I ignored their fake attempts to check in, and I stopped pretending like we had any kind of real relationship. They had made their choice, and I had made mine. I worked my off to build a life for myself. I took every opportunity I could, saved aggressively, and started making smart investments. By the time I was 28, I had built my net worth to over $1 million through sales, real estate, and stocks. I never flaunted it, but I wasn't exactly hiding it either. My parents had no idea how successful I had become until they came crawling back. It started with a random call from my mom, the first in months. She started off with the usual fake sweetness. "Honey, how have you been? We miss you." I wasn't in the mood for games, so I just said, "What do you want?" There was a pause. Then she sighed. "It's about your brother." Of course it was. Matt had, once again, screwed up his life. He had lost his job, again, racked up even more debt, and my parents had finally run out of money trying to bail him out. Now they were coming to me. "We just need a little help," my mom said. "He's struggling, and you're doing so well." I almost laughed. The audacity was insane. These were the same people who stole my college fund and told me to figure it out. So I told her the exact same thing. "Wow, that sucks, but you guys will figure it out," she stammered. We were hoping you could help out." "No?" She gasped like I had just slapped her. "Excuse me?" "No," I repeated. "You didn't help me when I needed it. I don't owe you anything." She got angry real quick. "You are being so selfish." "He's your brother," I shrugged, even though she couldn't see me. "And? You made it clear who your priority was back then. Matt can figure it out just like I did." She started crying. Actual tears. "How can you turn your back on your family like this?" I wasn't falling for it. "I didn't turn my back on anyone," I said. "You turned your back on me when you gave my future away to Matt." Then I hung up. That should have been the end of it. But my parents? They don't give up that easily. A week later, I got a text from my dad. "We need to talk. It's important." I ignored it. Then another. "We're really struggling. Please call us." Nope. Then my brother started texting me. "Hey man, can we talk? Look, I know things weren't fair before, but I'm really in a bad spot. Just call me, please." I ignored every single message. And when that didn't work, my parents showed up at my office. I was at work when the receptionist called me. There are 2 people here asking for you. They say they're your parents?" I was fuming. I went downstairs, and there they were, standing in the lobby like they had every right to be there. My mom rushed up to hug me like we were some happy family. I took a step back. "What are you doing here?" She sighed dramatically. "We need to talk. It's urgent." "No, it's really not." My dad cleared his throat. "Son, we wouldn't have come if it wasn't serious." I folded my arms. "All right, let's hear it." They launched into a sob story about how they had drained their savings trying to help Matt, how he was on the verge of losing everything, and how they were at risk of losing their house because they had taken out loans to cover his debts. I just nodded. "Wow, that sounds really rough." My mom perked up, thinking I was going to cave. "It is, honey. We're desperate. If you could just loan us some money." "No." Her smile dropped. "What?" I looked her right in the eye. "No. You made your bed. Now lie in it." She started crying. My dad just looked defeated. He muttered, "We're your parents. Doesn't that mean anything to you?" I shrugged. "It meant something when I was 18, but you made it very clear that Matt was more important than me. So go ask him for money," Mom sobbed. "He doesn't have any." I smiled. "Exactly." Then I turned and walked away. That was the last time I saw them. I heard through relatives that they lost their house a few months later. Matt ended up moving in with them in a tiny apartment, still making bad decisions, still expecting other people to clean up his mess. Meanwhile, I was living in my dream home, debt-free, thriving, and I didn't feel bad at all. They had their chance, they made their choice, and I made mine. After I refused to bail out my parents, I thought they'd finally leave me alone. I had made my stance crystal clear. I wasn't their backup plan. They stole my college fund to save Matt from his own stupidity, and now that their golden child had dragged them down with him, They wanted me to fix everything? Not a chance. I expected them to be mad, maybe even to cut me off completely. But instead of taking the hint, they doubled down. It started small, passive-aggressive texts from my mom. I just don't understand how you can be so heartless. We raised you. The least you could do is help your family in hard times. Money changes people. You're not the son I remember. I ignored every single one. Then Matt started texting me. Dude, I know mom and dad messed up, but they're still our parents. I'm trying to turn things around. I just need a little help. We're family, man. Again, ignored. Then they started getting creative. One day, I got an email from my dad. At first, I thought it was just another guilt trip, but then I read the subject line, Agent, Power of Attorney. I opened it and my jaw dropped. They had actually drawn up legal documents trying to get me to sign over financial power of attorney to them, meaning if I was dumb enough to sign it, they could legally access my bank accounts and manage my assets. I laughed so hard I nearly cried. They really thought I was that stupid? I forwarded the email to my lawyer just to be safe, then replied to my dad with one sentence, never contact me again. Then I blocked him. A few months passed and I thought they had finally given up. Then came the wedding invitation. I got a fancy envelope in the mail. At first I thought it was from a friend, but when I opened it, I saw Matt's name. Yup, my deadbeat brother, who was supposedly so broke he needed me to save him, was getting married. And not just any wedding. This was a luxury event. Destination wedding, designer tuxedos, the whole 9 yards. I nearly threw the invite in the trash, but something told me to read the fine print. There it was. Instead of gifts, we kindly ask for financial contributions to help us start our new life together. I burst out laughing. Matt was literally asking people to pay for his wedding. I left the invite on my counter for a few days, trying to decide if I should even acknowledge it. Then I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Matt. Hey man, look, I know things have been tense, but I really want us to move past that. Family is family, right? I'd love for you to come to my wedding. It'd mean a lot. Let me know. I just shook my head. Unbelievable. The audacity of this guy. After everything he and my parents put me through, acting like we were just going through a little rough patch. I wasn't going to let him get away with it, so I sent him a text. Hey, got your invite. Quick question. If you're so broke you had to beg mom and dad for money, how exactly are you affording a luxury wedding? He read it instantly. No reply. I waited a few minutes, then followed up. Oh, wait, I get it. You're expecting other people to pay for it, just like how you expected mom and dad to pay for your mistakes, just like how they expected me to fix everything when they ran out of money. Sound about right? Still nothing. So I sent one last message. I wouldn't go to your wedding if you paid me. Lose my number. Then I blocked him. That should have been the end of it, but Matt, he's as stubborn as he is stupid. A few days later, my parents called me from a different number. I stupidly picked up, thinking it might be work. The moment I said hello, my mom burst into tears. I can't believe what you said to your brother. He's devastated. I rolled my eyes. Oh, please. He's devastated that his ATM finally cut him off. My dad jumped in. We're just asking you to be civil. He wants his brother at his wedding, I snorted. Yeah, and I wanted my college fund. Guess we don't always get what we want. Silence. Then my mom, in her best martyr voice, sighed. You're going to regret this when we're gone. That was the last straw. I took a deep breath and said, no, you're going to regret this. You're going to regret choosing him over me every single day for the rest of your lives. Because guess what? When you're old and broke and need someone to take care of you, it won't be me. My mom gasped like I had physically struck her. My dad just muttered, I can't believe how cruel you're being. I laughed. Cruel? You people stole my future and handed it to Matt like it was nothing? And now that your golden child let you down, you suddenly remember you have another son? No thanks. I hung up. That was the last time I ever spoke to them. I heard through mutual connections that my parents lost their house a year later. Matt's wedding was apparently a train wreck. Half the guests didn't show, and the ones who did refused to pay for anything. His wife left him within a year when she realized he was a financial disaster. Meanwhile, I was living in my dream home, debt-free, thriving, and surrounded by people who actually cared about me. And I didn't feel bad at all. They had their chance, they made their choice, and I made mine. And after I hung up on my parents, I thought that was it. They had chosen my brother over me, drained their finances trying to clean up his mess, and then had the nerve to come begging for my help when it all went downhill. I made it clear that I wasn't their safety net, and I finally blocked them for good. That should have been the end of it, but of course, they weren't done yet. About 6 months later, I got an email from a random Gmail account. The subject line, "Please read." I was about to delete it, thinking it was spam, but something told me to open it. It was from my mom. Since I had blocked all their numbers, this was her last-ditch effort to reach me. And the email? It was insane. She started off with the usual guilt-tripping, saying things like, "No matter what, we are still your parents, and we still love you. I know you feel hurt, but holding on to this resentment will only bring you pain in the end. Family is more important than money." Then she got to the real reason she was emailing me. They were losing everything. Apparently, after I cut them off, they had continued trying to bail Matt out. My parents had remortgaged their house, thinking he would get back on his feet soon. Spoiler alert, he didn't. He blew through every penny they gave him, and now they were deep in debt. The bank was seizing their house. They had nowhere to go. And guess what? They wanted to move in with me. I almost dropped my phone from laughing so hard. After everything, after stealing my future, choosing Matt over me, and treating me like an afterthought, they actually had the audacity to think I'd let them live in my house? I didn't even bother responding. I just blocked the email. A week later, I got a call from an unknown number. I ignored it. Then I got a voicemail. It was my dad. His tone was completely different from before. No anger, no disappointment, just defeated. "Hey kid, look, I know we screwed up. I don't expect you to forgive us, but we really don't have anywhere else to go. I'm not asking for money, just a place to stay. Just until we figure things out, please." I replayed it a few times, letting his words sink in. For the first time, my parents were actually facing consequences. No more lifelines, no more bailouts, just reality. And they hated it. A few weeks later, I heard through mutual friends that my parents had moved into a tiny apartment across town. They had sold almost everything just to afford rent. They had gone from living in a big house, throwing money at my brother, to barely scraping by. As for Matt, he was completely alone. After his wife left him, he burned bridges with almost everyone who had ever tried to help him. Even my parents, his biggest enablers, finally gave up on him when they realized he would never change. He was broke, unemployed, and couch surfing. And me? I was thriving. I had zero debt, a successful career, a beautiful home, and a life I built on my own. And the best part? I didn't feel bad at all. A year passed, and I never heard from them again. Then, one day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I was feeling generous, so I answered. It was my mom. Her voice was shaky. "Hey, sweetheart, it's been a long time." I didn't say anything. She sighed. "Look, I know we've made mistakes. I know we weren't always the best parents, but we're getting older and..." There it was, the real reason for the call. "We're struggling. Your father's health isn't great and money is tight. We were wondering if maybe we could put everything behind us and move forward as a family." I let out a slow breath. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She didn't want to make things right. She just wanted a lifeline. I made sure my voice was calm and steady when I answered. "No." Silence. Then she whispered, "What?" I said no, I repeated. "I'm not your safety net. I'm not your retirement plan. You made your choice when you gave my future away. Now you get to live with it." She started crying, actual sobbing. "Please, we don't have anyone else." I almost felt something. Pity, maybe? But then I remembered all the times I had no one and how they didn't care. I hung up, and that was the last time I ever spoke to them. Years passed. I got married, started a family, and built a life so much better than the one I had left behind. My parents? They faded into the background. Last I heard, they were still struggling, bouncing between low-income rentals, barely making ends meet. Matt? I've no idea, and I don't care. Because, at the end of the day, I realized something important. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up for you, and they never did, so I moved on. And I never looked back.